Brexit. Britain is likely to be ahead of the EU in the queue for a U.S. trade deal because it has an incredible amount to offer, a former Washington aide told Express. The UK may have only exited the transition period at the start of 2021, but significant differences between the way in which the EU and Britain are run have already appeared. Brussels was left red-faced after its latest vaccine debacle, which saw the bloc temporarily abuse the emergency clause of the Northern Ireland Protocol, stunning the international community. The EU is also trailing behind both the UK and the US in its vaccine rollout, having signed contracts with key developers months after its Western allies, meaning its post-pandemic recovery still seems to be a long way off. Most crucially, it signed a landmark investment deal with China just a month before Joe Biden was sworn into the White House, despite his pleas to hold off until he had officially become U.S. president. Unsurprisingly, a former Washington aide and one-time research director to George W. Bush, Peter Ruff, told Express.co.uk that the UK generally cuts an attractive figure right now, especially when compared to the EU. He explained, the UK has shown push back against Chinese aggression and put the step on Huawei. It has propped up its defense budgets, putting its money where its mouth is, which did not go unnoticed in Washington, at a time when some other allies have dragged in military spending. The UK took a bold risk when it announced that the Chinese telecoms giant was to be cut out of Britain's 5G network due to both British and American concerns over security leaks going back to China. In the meantime, Huawei is steadily moving into the EU and Germany has drafted a bill for it to play a huge part in turning Duisburg into a smart city. Britain has also spoken out against both China's violation of its 50-year joint declaration that Hong Kong would remain a special administrative region until 2047. Hong Kong protests against China's crackdown in recent years have stunned the international sphere, as Beijing continues to threaten democracy in the region. The UK has since offered citizenship to 5.4 million Hong Kong nationals, despite China's warnings that Britain should not meddle in domestic issues, again showing it shares Mr. Biden's appreciation for international democracy. Just last week, Westminster stood alongside Washington in condemning the treatment of more than 1 million Uyghurs and other minorities who have been detained in Chinese camps. But the UK and the US are not just ideologically aligned, according to Mr. Ruff. He explained that the UK also has prospects and is eager to cut a trade deal at a time when it is unlikely we are going to get an EU-US trade deal. The commentator continued, "We couldn't get it before during the late stages of the Obama years, when there was a sort of soft globalism. Since then some protectionist winds have swept America. I think including the pandemic, which makes the Biden administration rather inward-focused." The commentator, who was the director of research under George W. Bush, claimed that it's therefore incredibly unlikely that there will be a deal with the EU anytime soon, but that's not the case when it comes to Britain. He explained, with the UK, there's a lot more flexibility there. There is a lot more potential and possibility. Britain has, I think, an incredible amount to offer the US. But, if there is one headwind, at a time when Brexit and Trumpism are seen as part of the same phenomenon, and the Biden administration are unsympathetic to Trumpism, to put it lightly, that could be a problem. Mr. Biden's predecessor Donald Trump is currently facing his second impeachment trial in Washington.